So now I'm ready to start pulling. So again, if you've gotten this far, great. This is going to be the next part that's like really frustrating. Really frustrating. It's going to take a lot of practice to get pulling down and get it down efficiently. Everyone's going to go through it most likely, so don't worry. Ask for help if you need it. It's going to be hard. You're going to get frustrated with this, so you're just going to have to stick with it. That's the only way you can get through this part. So be warned, it's going to be frustrating. And the even more frustrating part is I'm going to make it look really easy. I'm going to make it look really easy. So it's going to be way more harder. So just setting you up for that in advance. So I'm going to put more water down because, again, definitely need water. And I'm going to use my left hand on the inside and my right hand on the outside. I'm over here at 4 and 5 o'clock, give or take. And my left hand is going to be pushing out. My right hand's going to grab it. My right hand's going to be a little lower. It's going to grab it. They're going to squeeze together. And as I start squeezing all in one fluid motion, I'm just going to lift my hands and the clay up. Sounds simple, right? So, like I said, the clay, I put a nice 90-degree angle inside of here at the very bottom. And that's helpful because now I know where the bottom is. If you leave that sloping curve in there, you're never going to get a good spot to start pulling. And that's really important. Because out here, I can get my fingers all the way down to the wheel head. And that's where I want them to start. Remember how I said my right hand's a little lower? Well, here we go. Now it's starting down here at the wheel head. And my left hand is inside on this little clay base, like clay inside. And so now it's naturally at a different height. So, again, I'm going to squeeze with my left hand. I'm going to push out, squeeze in with my right hand, bring them together and start coming up. And then just very gently, as I get to the top, I'm going to stop and let go. Now we've got the beginning of the cylinder. I'm going to come back and recompress this again. After every pull that I make, I'm going to compress this. All of the strength of our, again, I didn't change the shape really, I'm just tightening it up. So all of the strength of our vessels are coming into this rim. If our rim isn't strong, you're just gonna get a big crack down the side of something really nice. So most people say it'll take about 3 pulls to move all of the clay that you want. Again, more water. And so I'm gonna push out with my left hand and lift up with my right. And just very evenly move those up together. You can see on my right hand, my left thumb and my right hand are touching together there at the top. And that's so that I know that my hands are moving up at the same speed. It's really important that my hands are moving up, same speed. I'm going to compress. Moving up at the same speed. And you'll notice as I'm going, if you can see, I don't know how well they're picking up, these are what are called throwing lines. And they're nice and tight and together. If you get these big lines on the side, it means you might be pulling a little too fast. And that's going to be a hard part for you to figure out. Based on how hard you're squeezing and how fast or slow your hands are moving up the side is going to determine how fast your wheel head needs to go. So I throw kind of slow. Some people throw fast. But if your hands are moving fast, the wheel head should move fast. If the wheel's moving slow, your hand should move slow. Because if you want to think about it, every time your hand's moving up, it should have done a full rotation on the wheel. Again, I'll just stop right below the top. No. Come in and compress. Add some more water down. And so if you can see what's happening here at the top, it's becoming a little bit wider than it is everywhere else. So this is going to happen. The clay is naturally going to want to flare out on you as you're throwing because of centrifugal force or centripetal force. I always get them confused. But basically, the more you spin the clay, the faster you spin it, the more it's going to flare out into a bowl shape. To counteract that, I can take 2 wet palms and just very gently down below where it's still a little bit more narrow, and then just sort of squeeze in everywhere and lift the clay up. just like so. So it made the top a little uneven, but the shape looks, or the verticality is a little bit nicer. So I'm gonna do another pull. One thing I'm gonna do first though, if you can see, no longer, originally I had a nice like vertical spot at this side wall here. Now I've got this little ramp of clay. This ramp of clay makes it really hard to start at the bottom. So I'm gonna use my wooden knife tool. And I'm gonna, see how I'm holding it like a pencil? Holding it like a pencil like this. My hand knows how to hold a pencil. If I hold this tool way back here, I have no control over it. It's just gonna bounce around and be really ineffective. But if I choke up all the way on it, it's gonna be really easy to hold like a pencil or a pen and have control over it. So here where it starts to form that hill, I'm just very slowly gonna move my tool down until I hit the wheel head. And once I've done that, I'm just gonna press down, slowly spin the wheel, and that's just gonna scrape everything up. And like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and do one more pull. Probably won't have to do very much. Let's see where our height's at. We're at 7 inches. So I'm an inch taller than we need to be already. So that's good. I'm going to compress one more time. And if you can see from where I was collaring that clay. Okay, a little bit of technical difficulties there. Let's see. What was I saying? So I need to trim this. This is a little uneven for my taste. You know, see that little waviness happening? We don't want any wavy happening. So I need to cut that. So I'm going to grab my needle tool. This is going to be the most efficient tool for this. It's just a little needle. I don't want to use a knife, would never work. I mean, never is a strong word, but that would be ridiculous. So again, I'm going to try and hold that as close to my hand as I can. You know, I just need a little bit of my needle to come out. You know, I'm not way back here on it because this is just going to flop around. We don't want a floppy needle tool. It's going to choke up on it until I have just a little bit coming out. And so as I pierce through this, I don't want to go, you know, hard 90 into it. I'm going to come in again at an angle so the clay kind of swoops into it. I don't want to pierce because then it's going to bounce. It's all about that swooping into it. Let the clay come to the tool. The tool doesn't need to come to the clay. So I'm just going to go a little below my low spot and just gently let the needle tool slide through. I don't need to do it in a matter of seconds. There we go. One little ring. And now we're much flatter, or at least more even at the top. And I'm going to compress this. Right now it's too flat, so I can just pinch it a little bit so I can have a nice rounder edge. There we go. All right, and so if you can see at the top there, it might be kind of dark and hard to tell, but there's a bunch of water in the bottom. I need to get all of that water out. If this was something I was going to keep, that water would cause that to crack and ruin your piece. And so don't leave any water in the bottom. Okay. So I've got that out. Now I'm ready to clean up the outside. So I talked before about these throwing lines. I want to get rid of those. I want these to be nice and as vertical as possible, as straight as possible, you know, to get all the credit that we need for this. So again, I'm going to be pushing, similar to throwing or pulling. I'm going to push out slightly with my left hand, and I'm going to use this long side of my rib on the outside. It uses kind of like a straight edge. The main thing I want to know is, again, I'm going to use this at an angle so the clay kind of flows into it. But I also want to make sure that that point is pointed away, because if I'm using this on the side, that point's going to get caught. So just very gently pulling or pushing out. You can see those throwing lines go away. spot in here. All right, so there's our cylinder. Wipe my hands off. So we have a final height of about 7.5 inches. Again, for our projects, we're looking for 6. I went a little bit above. This is 3 pounds of clay. All right. So we're gonna take these off the wheel head differently than we normally would take something off the wheel head. And we'll talk about that later. But basically, just looking at this cylinder, we can't see a whole lot about it. So all of the cylinders that we make, that you're gonna show me, we're making 10, by the way, 10 6-inch cylinders, even walls, flat bottoms, 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch thick. I need to see all of them. I need to see the innards of it. I need to see the insides. I need to see that wall thickness. Sometimes I can just look down and see, but it's much better for the learning process to cut them in half. As hard as that can be, these aren't things we need to keep, and we can just reuse the clay. There's no need to be attached. We're just trying to learn. So I'm gonna take my wire tool. I'm gonna tighten it up in my hand, kind of like dental floss. Take it to the wheel head, pull through, and I'm gonna stop about halfway. And once I'm halfway, I'm gonna come straight up. And I can pull this side away. And now we can see this is what we're talking about with even walls. It was straight up and down, but now my hand's squeezing it. We got a nice flat bottom, even walls. Same thickness all the way around. We just need to do this 10 times. 6 inches tall, at least 3 inches wide. So if you're in the studio in the evening or the weekends and you make these, just keep both halves. You'll have to cut them in case they dry out, but just keep the 2 halves together. It'll keep them stronger from waiting to fall over. And I'll check them during class. So that's all. So just keep rewatching this. It's not gonna make it. Keep watching, practicing. I'll leave this out in the other room for you to see.